The wind howled softly outside the hospital windows, carrying the chill of a late autumn evening. Inside, the fluorescent lights cast a sterile glow over the quiet corridors of Mercy General. The small town of Willow Creek, nestled in the rolling hills of upstate New York, was asleep, save for the hum of the hospital's night shift. Nurse Clara Thompson sat at the nurse's station, her hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of coffee. Her navy blue scrubs were wrinkled from a 12-hour shift, and her auburn hair, tied in a loose bun, had strands escaping like whispers of exhaustion. She shivered slightly, the hospital's air conditioning always a bit too cold for her liking. Clara was 32, single, and tired, and not just from the long hours, but from a life that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. She loved her work, tending to patients with a gentle touch and a kind word, but the weight of her loneliness pressed harder each night. Her apartment was a small, empty space with a single chair at the kitchen table, a silent testament to a life lived for others but not herself. She sighed, her breath fogging the coffee's surface, and glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m., another hour until her shift ended. Down the hall, in a private room, sat Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Enterprises, a tech company that had put Willow Creek on the map. At 40, Ethan was a man of quiet strength, his dark hair streaked with early silver, his gray eyes sharp but weary. He wore a tailored suit, slightly rumpled now, as he sat by his daughter's bedside. Lily, his 7-year-old daughter, slept soundly, her small chest rising and falling under the crisp hospital sheets. Her blonde curls fanned across the pillow, and a stuffed rabbit was tucked under her arm. Lily had been admitted for a high fever, but the doctors assured Ethan she'd be fine by morning. Still, he stayed, his hand resting lightly on hers, as if letting go might unravel the only thing keeping him grounded. Ethan's life was a paradox, a mansion on the hill, a company worth millions, yet an aching void where family should have been. His wife, Sarah, had passed 3 years ago, leaving him to raise Lily alone. He managed boardrooms with ease but struggled with bedtime stories and braiding hair. Lily needed more than he could give, and the guilt gnawed at him daily. He glanced out the window at the moonlit parking lot, feeling the weight of his solitude. Clara made her rounds, her sneakers squeaking softly on the linoleum floor. She paused at Lily's room, checking the chart. The girl was stable, vital, strong. She peeked inside, seeing Ethan's silhouette against the dim light. He looked up, catching her eye, and offered a small, tired smile. Clara nodded back, her own smile hesitant but warm. She'd seen him before. Everyone in Willow Creek knew the Caldwells, but tonight, he seemed less like the untouchable CEO and more like a father carrying the world on his shoulders. "Everything okay?" Clara asked softly, stepping into the room. Ethan nodded. "She's sleeping. Doctor says she'll be home tomorrow." "That's good news," Clara said, her voice a gentle cadence. She adjusted Lily's blanket, tucking it around her small frame. "She's a sweet girl, talks about her rabbit like it's her best friend." Ethan chuckled, a low, quiet sound. "Mr. Flopsy." "She doesn't go anywhere without him." Clara smiled, lingering a moment. The room felt warmer than the chilly corridor, not from the heat but from the small, human connection forming in the quiet. She turned to leave, but Ethan's voice stopped her. "Nurse Thompson, Clara, right?" he said, his tone careful, like he was testing the waters. She turned back, surprised he knew her name. "Yes, that's me." He hesitated, his fingers tracing the edge of Lily's blanket. "Can I ask you something?" "It's a broken bar personal." Clara's brow furrowed, but she nodded, stepping closer. "Sure." Ethan leaned forward, his voice low, almost a whisper. "You're good with her?" "With Lily. She lights up a new check on her." "Yeah, broken bar. I'm not enough for her." "Not on my own." He paused, his eyes searching hers, vulnerable in a way that caught her off guard. "You need a home, and I need a mother for my daughter." The words hung in the air, heavy and unexpected. Clara's breath caught, her hands tightening around the chart she held. She shivered, not from the cold but from the weight of what he'd said. "Mr. Caldwell." "Yeah, Ethan," he corrected gently. "Please, Ethan," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't understand." "What are you asking?" He ran a hand through his hair, his composure fraying. "I know it sounds crazy. I barely know you, but I see how you are with people, with Lily. You're patient, kind. She needs that. I have a big house, empty rooms, more than I need. And I heard a broken bar. I heard you lost your place last month. The nurses talk. Clara's cheeks flushed. It was true. Yeah, her landlord had raised the rent, forcing her to move to a cheaper, run-down apartment on the edge of town. She felt exposed, but his eyes held no judgment, only a quiet desperation. I'm not asking for charity, she said, her voice firm but soft. I manage. I know, Ethan said. I'm not offering charity, I'm offering a broken bar chance, for both of us, a home for you, a family for Lily. Maybe broken bar, maybe we can figure it out together. The room fell silent, save for Lily's steady breathing. Clara's mind raced. It was absurd, a CEO proposing something so intimate, so raw, to a nurse he barely knew. Yet, there was something in his voice, a sincerity that tugged at her heart. She thought of her cold apartment, the empty chair, the nights spent wondering if this was all life had for her. I need to think, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. This ice a broken bar a lot. Ethan nodded, his expression a mix of hope and regret. Of course. I'm sorry if I overstepped. She shook her head. No, it's okay. Just a broken bar. Let me think. Clara finished her shift in a daze, her thoughts swirling like the autumn leaves outside. She clocked out, pulling her coat tight against the chilly night, and walked to her car. The stars above were bright, a rare clear night in Willow Creek. She sat behind the wheel, staring at the hospital, replaying Ethan's words. A home, a family. It was a dream she'd buried long ago, after too many failed relationships and broken promises. The next day, Clara returned for her evening shift, her heart heavy with indecision. She checked on Lily, who was awake now, coloring a picture of Mr. Flopsy. Hi, Nurse Clara, Lily chirped, her green eyes bright. Hey, sweetheart, Clara said, her smile genuine. That's a great bunny. Lily grinned. Daddy says I can go home soon. Will you visit us? Clara's heart skipped. Maybe, she said, glancing at Ethan, who stood by the window, watching them quietly. That night, after Lily was discharged, Ethan lingered in the hospital lobby. Clara found him there, his coat slung over his arm, looking less like a CEO and more like a man waiting for an answer. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. I've been thinking, she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. I don't know if this makes sense, but a broken bar I'm willing to try. For Lily, for a broken bar, maybe something more. Ethan's face softened, relief washing over him. Thank you, Clara. I don't know where this'll lead, but I want to try, too. The twist came gently, like a breeze shifting the leaves. It wasn't a marriage proposal or a grand gesture, but a quiet agreement to step into the unknown together. They started small. Clara moved into a guest room in Ethan's sprawling home, a space filled with warmth and light, so different from her cramped apartment. She helped with Lily, reading bedtime stories, braiding her hair, teaching her how to bake cookies. Ethan watched, learning from Clara's patience, finding moments to share coffee and quiet conversations after Lily was asleep. Weeks turned to months, and the house became a home. Clara's laughter filled the halls, and Lily's smiles grew brighter. Ethan found himself softening, his guarded heart opening to the possibility of something new. Clara, too, felt the weight of her loneliness lift, replaced by a sense of belonging she hadn't known she craved. One evening, as winter settled over Willow Creek, Clara and Ethan sat by the fireplace, Lily asleep upstairs. The room glowed with the soft flicker of flames, the air warm and still. Ethan reached for Clara's hand, his touch tentative but sure. I didn't expect this, he said, his voice low, but I'm glad you're here. Not just for Lily, but a broken bar for me. Clara's eyes met his, her heart full. I'm glad, too. This feels like home. They sat in silence, hands entwined, the fire crackling softly. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing Willow Creek in quiet beauty. Clara thought of her old apartment, the single chair, the cold nights. She thought of Ethan's loneliness, Lily's need for a mother's touch. And she realized that sometimes, the most unexpected paths lead to the warmest destinations. In that moment, they weren't just a nurse and a CEO, or a father and a caregiver. They were two people building something new, something real, a family, stitched together by trust, hope, and the quiet courage to try. And for Clara, Ethan, and Lily, that was enough.